Well, welcome back to the concluding day of the 10 days of awe, my friends, the day we celebrate the sealing of the Book of Life. Now, many think of it as a sad, solemn, painful day of affliction. I think it is one of the two most joyous days in the Hebrew calendar. The first was the 15th of Av, the day of love. And now this one, the day we get a second chance at everything. How great is that? It is an interesting holy day, one called for in Leviticus 16:29. This shall be an eternal statute for you in the 7th month. On the 10th of the month you shall afflict yourselves. You shall not do any work, neither the native nor the stranger who dwells among you. It is for everybody. We are not told to fast. We're not told to not wear leather. We are simply told to degrade ourselves. So what is degrade? Well, it's the same term as in Exodus 1:11-12, which talks of the Egyptian tax collectors. And I guess that hasn't changed in a few thousand years. They certainly can be very afflicting and degrading. Except the common translation has always been afflict. So even though the actual biblical Hebrew word is degrade, the word you'll see in all of your translations is afflict. And of course, everybody grew up believing that we're forbidden to eat, to drink, to bathe, to anoint ourselves, to wear shoes, or to have conjugal relations. But that is according to rabbinic tradition, not Torah. It was suggested that these are included in the biblical commandments to afflict oneself. And the reason for their inclusion is that gratification of our bodily appetites is the principal source of sin. Well, annual services have emphasized this as the time of repenting our evil ways and returning to the path of good, teshuvah, repentance, return. The return to the right path must therefore include an earnest attempt to control and even to suppress such appetites. Affliction changes with the times. Today, maybe affliction is going an hour without the internet or your sacred tablet or your cell phone. It is an amazing 10-day New Year celebration. Although I really consider it more of a new life celebration because it is a New Year focused more on how we have been and treated people and contemplative of our own sins. Accordingly, we can wipe the slate clean and start again. We introduced it with a meal and well wishes, and we ate an apple dipped in honey. The apple represented the knowledge we gained from Eden, and the honey's for sweet life. Friends, this is when your name is in the book of life. It has been inscribed. It is written in at the beginning of the 10 days, is sealed at the end, and the process you go through is where you search your soul for the negatives you have done and seek forgiveness for them. First and foremost, from any individual you may have harmed, and secondarily, or if that option is not possible, then from God. And don't forget to seek it still from the harshest judge of all, yourself. And as I said, it is not just about healing ourselves, but our role in Tikkun Olam, healing the world during our lives. We follow roads to holiness. And during the holy days, our process now is reminiscent of steps one takes in entering holy ground. The closer you get to the sanctuary, the holier the ground. So the more you have to prepare yourself. These are the steps in the 10 days of repentance. The more you process through, the closer you get to holier ground. And the holiest ground is in your heart. Through your retrospection and introspection, through self-discovery, you've used the time of judgment to see your real self as actually the divine image of you. And you can do what you need in order to get yourself back on that path. Each of us can actually be better than we are. And every year, this holy day allows us to reconnect to that belief and to elevate ourselves just a little higher. We begin this holy of holy days the night before, reciting a prayer, or more accurately, a legal formula that became a significant part of the liturgy in the 1400s because it allowed the conversos, the Spanish and Portuguese Jews who were forced to convert during the Spanish Inquisition, to annul the vows of conversion. It was written far earlier, but took its greatest significance from that period. The Kol Nidre, meaning all vows, is the annulment of vows. We ask God to release us from any vows that we may have forgotten, made inappropriately, or been unable to fulfill in the previous year. Now, it does have an interesting history. It was not always welcomed into the liturgy by many rabbinic authorities, and actually it was expunged from Western European prayer books during the 19th century. Now, you've heard me talk of the origin of the word nidre before. It's from the same root as nazir, referring to the Nazirite vow, talked about in number 6, the vow of dedication to God, which could be made by male or female, and was symbolized by long flowing hair. Well, the Kol Nidre, all vows, is chanted 3 times in increasing volume. It is certainly one of the most powerful pieces of Jewish liturgy. And friends, there's so many fantastic versions of it. I encourage you all to just hop on the internet and find the ones you like. I still love the Perry Como version. And there was a fascinating change in the wording of it that took place. And the change was made by Rashi's son-in-law, Rabbi Meir ben Samuel, who changed the phrase from the last day of atonement until this one to from this day of atonement until the next one, and therefore changed the nature of the prayer from one concerned with unfulfilled obligations of the past to one of vows which one may not be able to fulfill or observe in the future. And you will hear it both ways. All vows, oaths, and promises which we made to God and were not able to fulfill, from last Yom Kippur to this Yom Kippur, or from this Yom Kippur to the next, may all such vows between ourselves and God be annulled. May they be void and of no effect. May we be absolved of them and released from them. May these vows not be considered vows, these oaths not considered oaths, and these promises not considered promises. You see, friends, there was a palpability to what man said. It was real. It existed. It had substance. We see words differently today. We don't see them as having the same thickness, the same level of reality. And so it was an extremely important part of liturgy for such a long time. Now the version I'm going to do is a folk song version that's done, which again has an extremely meditative component to it. All vows, oaths, and promises annulled. This is a day of atonement, or at-one-ment, an individual reconciliation of who you were, are, and want to be. It is a celestial judgment time. And it's a personal one. Do not forget, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur were not included in the three gathering festival. These are personal undertakings between you and your God alone. So it's kind of strange that these would be the 2 days that most Jews go to synagogue. Our sages have said that on Rosh Hashanah, 3 books are open: the book of the righteous, the book of the wicked, the book of in-between or intermediate, the one most of us fit into. Those who are righteous are immediately inscribed in the book of life, the wicked immediately condemned, and the rest of us have these 10 days to reflect, to review, to renew our efforts to be good, decent, loving people. It doesn't have to take great effort. There is a God particle in each of us, which means we all contain an element of perfection. Let it expand within you with every breath you take. You don't have to attain perfection. Just try and be as good as you can and as loving as you can. Treat everyone as you'd want to be treated. It's a holy day about living and dying in the choices we make. And again, I'll remind you of the verse we looked at during Rosh Hashanah from the Unatana Tokaf prayer, which sums up the entire holy day period. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, on Yom Kippur it is sealed. How many shall pass on? How many shall come to be? Who shall live? Who shall die? Who shall see ripe age? Who shall not? Who shall perish by fire? And who by water? By very slow decay, and who shall I say is called? Both services, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, have great feelings to them, my friends, because these are days of judgment. And because the days of judgment, I often get asked some great questions this time of the year. Are we watched by God for these 10 days only? Do we think God sees us all the time and knows the secrets of our soul? Do we think we fool a grand court for 10 days to get inscribed in the book of life and then go back to being who we were? Why do we observe these 2 days more than any others? And one of my personal favorites was, can you celebrate your birthday if it falls on Yom Kippur? Well, you know what? These are actually all great questions. We are told how solemn, self-judging, full of confessions, some real, most not applicable, and how self-condemning this day is. Well, the Talmud says a man should always consider himself evenly balanced, half sinful, half righteous. If he commits one good, he's tilted the scale towards righteousness. If he commits one sin, he's tilted the scales towards sinfulness. Friends, don't get weighed down by a lifetime of choices. Look at each choice you make by itself. It is never too late to alter the balance. Remember, as I've said 1,000 times, Judaism, like Buddhism after it, is very much based on intention, our kavanah. Thoughts are things. And what you think, more than what you say or do, tilt those scales one way or the other. Only you know if you were watched by God every day or only today. I think we are all his or her representatives, and so we monitor ourselves on God's behalf and act accordingly. If you choose to observe only 2 days, that's okay. There are not that many holy days actually called for in the Torah. These 2 just happen to be very important. So if you observe nothing else, these 2 are great choices, and I'd encourage you to at least try and make some sacred time and space for yourself and your thoughts during the year. Now, in today's impersonal world, there is more pressure on each of us as individuals for the responsibilities we have, the burdens on our shoulders. So instead of condemning yourselves and condemning your actions or considering your actions as sins, consider them as negative choices or harmful choices that fall into 3 categories. Harmful events involving another person, harmful events involving yourself, and harmful events involving the nature of things. And accordingly, there are 3 types of forgiveness that we seek. For various reasons, we find it difficult to seek forgiveness from anyone we may have hurt during the year or at any other time. Perhaps it's because we do not like to admit our own errors or shortcomings. We're taught from an early age to be strong, competitive, to come out on top. We do not like to admit that we made a mistake. Friends, above all, You have to seek forgiveness from whomever you may have harmed. Strength does not come from being aggressive. Strength does not come from bullying or berating others. True strength comes from our being vulnerable. These days of awe are the time of the year where everyone is concerned with their place in the world and their impact upon their lives and the lives of others. And therefore the life of the world comes together to work to tilt the scales. And we'll pause there and we'll come back and we will wrap it up with a final discussion of forgiveness.